Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. Those are interchangeable. Okay, what are we going to discuss today? So I'm responding here and to a question that's coming from Manuela Orchid. And she's asked, Dear Hoagie, could you tell us, maybe in a short video, which will be this one? I hope it's going to be short, but you know me, once I get stuck in, it ends up being an hour. Hopefully a bit shorter. So she says, Dear Hoagie, could you tell us, maybe in a short video, from the Vedic aspect, when Jupiter is not in Aries no more and Pluto not in Capricorn? Thank you. All right, so obviously I can understand why Manuela is asking the question, because of course, we've got a lot of tumultuousness going on, as we see all over the world. And obviously, you guys, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but as you guys know, I said um, back in when Jupiter entered sidereal Aries, I said there would be an increased chance of conflict and stuff like that happening in the world, which of course we've seen. Neptune has moved into sidereal Pisces. And when I mentioned that, I said there's going to be more increase and stuff like that in flooding and those kind of things, which has happened. Also, as well, because Aries is a fire sign, I also said when Jupiter goes into Aries, we're going to be dealing as well with heat, and we're going to be dealing with flames and fire and all of this kind of stuff, which has all happened. And this year has been the hottest year on record on the globe by a long shot. I mean, like a country mile. They were I was seeing this graph, and they were showing how it's gone up, and this year was like up there. So of course, absolutely everything, it feels like, around the world is hotting up politically, in terms of war, conflict, arguments, discord, all of these different things. But really and truly, what it all boils down to is, of course, Pluto. Pluto in sidereal Capricorn, as you've heard me talk about ad nauseum. But the reason why I keep repeating myself is, A, obviously new people come to the channel that may not have heard what I've said previously. Also, as well, it's just the case as well that that we can just forget. Yeah, there's so much news, so much has happened. It's hard to keep track of it all. So forgive me for those that, why am I getting that thing? I'm getting something flashing up. Forgive me for those that have heard me talk about this stuff already, etc., and stuff like that. But this, in many ways, is very much a reminder video, because I did my eclipses video a while ago. I think it was last month or month and a half. I mean, who knows? The time goes so quick now. And of course, so much events and news has happened since then. These things tend to be a vague recollection. So us astrologers, we have to repeat ourselves. We have to repeat ourselves to remind people of what things that we said ages ago, particularly for me as well, because I tend to do my predictions quite far out. And it's easy to forget some of the stuff that I would have said, months ago or late last year, for example. But many people are actually remembering the things that I've said. I said with tech, things to do with the sky, rules and regulations changing, etc. All of that stuff when Saturn entered sidereal Aquarius. And what have we seen so far? And of course, it's going at great pace. So in this one, we're going to look at Jupiter in Aries, just as Manuela asked how long it will be there. We're going to look at Pluto in Capricorn. You need to brace yourself for this one, folks, when you realize how long Pluto is going to be in sidereal Capricorn for. So, get your gussets ready, folks. Get your gussets ready. Whatever it is that you wear for underwear, whatever your persuasion. And just understand that, these are very historic times that we're in. We are in historic times. And of course, the USA is having a Pluto return on top of that. We're also going to look a bit of Joe Biden. Yeah, look at his chart because, you know, there's pressures there. And we'll look again as well at Duck Larange, at Trump. I've done them all already, but this is the reminder video because so much happens. There's so much content out there. And of course, everyone wants to watch everyone, which is great, but then we forget sometimes what other readers and whatnot may have said. So this is a refresher. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just start here with these transits and how long they're lasting and stuff like that. Everyone knows that a big old war has just flared up, of course, in Israel. I think the attack happened on this between the 7th or the 8th of October. October was always going to be a big month anyway. October, November, December, pretty much towards the end of the year. Remember too, as well, it's not quite materialized yet in terms of the mainstream dialogue and narrative. But remember, I said in the last quarter, I said the economy is going to change. The US economy will likely change, but also as well, the global economy is changing. And then from January 2024, of course, we're going to be having BRICS coming on stream, all of that stuff. You would have already heard me mention too that Iraq has just popped, well, from the 1st of January 2024, which I discussed in Hogarth, they are going to be de-dollarizing in terms of cash and stuff like that. So what I want people to understand, this ain't, you know, it's not to scare people or anything like that. It's just to, particularly because a lot of the audience is in America, a lot of my audience is in America. This is the wake-up call, as you've been hearing me talk about. I did stuff on the US currency. I think it was USA versus China. This must have been in probably in like November of last year. Was it November of last year? Maybe not that far back, but certainly either earlier of 2023 or late 2022. But please have a rummage through my list and just satisfy your own curiosity in this way. But I have mentioned, you know, that the tides are shifting. Just because you don't hear anything in the mainstream news doesn't mean that a lot of stuff isn't going on. There's plenty going on. But what is plastered all over the news ad nauseum 24/7, we can't escape it, of course. Duck Larange, who I also call Black Mirror, who I will also start probably calling Mr. Amygdala, yeah, but is, of course, the weapon of mass distraction. Let's not forget that there as well. There is a tremendous amount of squirrelage going on. There's a lot of distraction, and there's a lot of stuff that is going on in the economies, not only of America, but of the world, that is not being sort of like discussed on mainstream media and stuff like that. You really do. I mean, obviously, I look at mainstream media as well, of course, to see what the main narratives and stuff like that are. But I also look at other trusted and excellent content providers here on YouTube that are doing excellent work. And for many of you would watch, say, like Midas Touch, for example. They're independent, you know, they're not part of the mainstream. Some people might watch The Hill. I'm not sure what their stances are, whether they're conservative or Democrat or libertarian or whatever. I'm not sure what they are. And there's all these other kind of independent ones as well. In my what's it called? In my Thursday fry up coming up, I'm going to share a very important video with the guy that was the former he did all the money and the finance for Greece. He was there for like 5 months or something when Greece was going through their tumult. He's just got a book out. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating, where he describes the global world order as it is now in terms of finance and stuff like that, which really does concur with what I've been saying in terms of where the direction of things are going. And he talks about cloud capitalism and, you know, stuff like that. So I'm going to be increasingly going forward just sharing little tidbits here and there of really high quality independent news media sources and just cherry picking for you some of the really pertinent stuff that is very useful, so you know not only what's going on in the States, if you happen to be in the States, or Canada or whatever, but what's happening globally, because as you know, this channel is what? Hogarth's Global Astrology, and I'm always wanting to try and show that bigger picture of what is going on around the world, so you can see along with the astrology where humanity is going. Right, so what I'm going to do now is going to share my screen with you, and let's do share screen, and let's do entire screen on this one. Do this, click on this, so we've got that, and then let's go up here and get the old, there we go. You're going to see I've got a much larger cursor this time, because some people said, bless them, that they couldn't see the cursor that I was pointing with, whereas this is, there's no doubt about this, isn't there? You can absolutely see where that is. So I'm going to do a big red arrow just to, you know, just to point everything out. This is Duck Larange's chart, but we're not going to start with his chart. Let's just do a chart for today. Yeah, so I'm literally just going to do new chart, and I'm going to just put here today. Oh, I see. I forgot today. There we go. 2023, and today's date, it is the 9th of October 2023, and it is 7:10 p.m. in the evening for me. I'm literally just going to do calculate like this. Voila! This is where the planets are today, and it's funny actually because I made my cursor red because, you know, I do like the planet Mars, even though he's planet of war, etc., and stuff like that. He also deals with logic, problem solving, working things out, logistics, stratagems, even the occult and all that kind of stuff. And I've got Mars in the first house, so I always try and honor Mars where I can, even though he's a difficult planet, but you know, not necessarily for Cancer ascendants or Leo ascendants. Yeah. Anyway, so if we look here at the time that I'm doing this, ironically, we can see that Aries is rising, pardon me, on the eastern horizon at the time that I'm doing this at 19 degrees 57 minutes. Now, isn't this interesting? Because what is going on right now in the world? War. But why? What is going on? Why did I make that prediction where I said when sidereal Jupiter moved, when Jupiter moved into sidereal Aries in 2023, I said there would be issues with heat, war, conflict, all of that stuff. Why? Because Aries is the original sign of war and conflict. It just is. That's what it deals with. Aries is a fire sign, so all fire signs and air signs are considered masculine, and all water signs and earth signs are considered feminine. So Aries belongs to Mars. Mars is the planet of war, discord, you know, conflict, explosions, etc. Also deals with surgeons as well, the positive manifestations, problem solving, engineers of all kinds, all of that stuff. So Mars is not all bad. I want to speak up for some of Mars's good side, but it depends how people use the energy. So Aries is the masculine expression of Mars, and Scorpio can be considered the feminine expression of Mars. Sun and moon, well, moon and the sun, this isn't the sun here, this is Venus, but in terms of sun and moon only get one sign each. The moon only gets the sign of Cancer, and she's considered mature divine feminine. The sun only gets the sign of Leo, and he's considered mature divine masculine. Going back to Aries. So yes, Aries is the masculine expression of Mars, which is already a masculine planet. If you look here as well, Jupiter is here, which is a masculine planet, and Mars and Jupiter are friends. So who are the friends? Sun, Moon, Mars and Jupiter, they're all friends, and they all do well in each other's signs, except Mars technically debilitates in the sign of Cancer, which is over here, which belongs to his friend the Moon, but he's delighted. Yeah, Mars is a complex one. He exalts in the sign of Capricorn. So wherever a planet is debilitated, it will exalt in the opposite sign. So he exalts, which means he's at his most powerful in Capricorn, which actually belongs to one of his enemies, Saturn. But Mars is a funny planet. So here we have Jupiter in a friendly sign. Now, what we've got to understand is that Jupiter, though, is expansive. And if you look back, if you recall, I said we have to see what Jupiter is going to do, because in regards to, at that time I was talking about the conflict in Ukraine. Jupiter is an expansive planet. You'll remember, of course, if we think of Lena, for example, where she talks about the Jupiterian energy in regards to the Empress and how that can actually expand and exaggerate things. And one of the things that I was concerned about, I was worried that Jupiter would exaggerate heat, yeah, even the flooding, because he is the co-ruler of Pisces, yeah, along with Neptune. Here you can see Neptune is the co-ruler of Pisces. Look there, which is in the 12th house for this chart, but it's oceanic. So you've got the god of the sea in his own sign of co-rulership with Jupiter, the original ruler of Pisces, very strong and expansive in Aries. Is it any wonder that we've been having issues with what? Heat, fire, and water. Look at all the flooding events and all of that kind of stuff. And this kind of stuff is probably going to continue until us as humanity just get our act together and stop the douchebaggery. We need to get ourselves off those fossil fuels. Now, look, there will always be an element where fossil fuels will be needed, particularly from the transition, stuff like that. But we need to cut it right down, but then amp up the other stuff to compensate for it and grow all the trees and all of this kind of stuff. We all know what to do, but because there's so much rubbish going on in terms of leadership, yeah, which is the Pluto issue over here in sidereal Capricorn, not in Aquarius, sidereal Capricorn, what we're seeing, the darkness and the corruption and all the underbelly of leadership, distribution systems, big pharma, big corporate governance as well, all of that stuff all happening simultaneously all around the world. As you've heard me say before, we are now in the times that are very similar to the 1930s. Part of the shadow of Pluto is what? Fascism. Going to the far right or some other extreme, even the far left can be pretty cray as well. So we're seeing this happening universally all across the world, all at the same time. This is why everyone's like, oh my God, when will it end? Yeah. Anyway, coming back here to Aries. Now, if it were Jupiter here on its own, it wouldn't be as bad. Yeah, there would still be potential for conflict, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. But look who Jupiter is with. Jupiter is with Uranus, yeah, which is the planet of sudden shocks and surprises, also deals with earthquakes as well. Believe it or not, Neptune was one of the original planets associated with earthquakes. But these tend to be what? Earthquakes offshore. So he causes the tsunami. It's an earthquake that shifts it, and then you have the thing happen. So Neptune and Uranus can cause earthquakes, but Uranus is in Aries, sign of war, conflict. We've also seen what? Earthquakes in North Africa combined with flooding as well, all of this stuff. Then you've got Rahu here, all adding to the extremes. He is in the Gandanta point. The Gandanta points are where fire goes into a water sign or water sign goes into fire. So one point where that happens is Cancer into Leo. And so it'll be the last 2 degrees, like 28 degrees onwards of Cancer, and the first 2 degrees of the next sign, fire sign, where the Gandanta point is, which means karmic knot, sometimes referred to by some astrologers as the drowning point. This can also deal with the drowning point. So any planet or planets that are Gandanta, they are considered to be drowning. They have more karma on them. They're more tumultuous. The next Gandanta point, it goes from Scorpio to Sagittarius, yeah, water to fire. And the other Gandanta point is from Pisces into Aries. If you'll see here is, why do I have, that's a bit weird. Look at that. Why am I getting, I don't know why I'm getting that hourglass thing happening there. Anyway, I've clicked up some settings and I probably pressed the wrong thing. So if we look here, you'll see Rahu is at 0 degrees and 44 minutes. So it's less than 1 degree, slap bang right on this Gandanta point. Ketu, of course, is always exactly the same degree, but opposite. No Gandanta here, but he's always opposite. So we see here, I don't know why I'm getting that thingy bob happen. Why is this happening? This is why. Just click something. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so here, Rahu, the manifest point of destiny for everyone and everything on planet Earth, yeah, is in the Gandantic point, which is the karmic knot, which is why, remember, Rahu also deals with extremes. Rahu is even more extreme than Jupiter. Jupiter will steadily expand, a situation, making it gradually better or worse. Rahu and the nodes can just be very explosive. So imagine when you've got Rahu in the Gandanta point, combined with all the energies of Jupiter and Uranus at the same time. Is it any wonder that we have all of this political conflict, arms, weapons, and all of this kind of stuff? Now, remember as well, we do have free will here. So there is the positive iteration of this. The positive iteration of this, if our leaders were so inclined, would be innovations and breakthroughs in technology. Uranus represents the future, tech, etc., stuff like that. So does Rahu. Jupiter represents intelligence, philosophy, learning, education. This is where we could, for example, if the leaders were using this positively, this is where we could use this energy for combating and innovating our way out of climate change. Aries, heat. Using AI and social media to solve problems for the highest good, rather than trying to use it to kind of, get people under control or just for financial aspects. Do you see? There are the positives, and there will be people in the world that will be innovating and doing stuff as well. This is a very innovative combination. Let's also not forget as well, even though war is absolutely horrific and terrible, very often a lot of innovation comes out of war as well, because there is that aspect of Mars that is very logical, wants to problem solve as well. But often the war is a time where humanity is often used to experiment. Yeah, experiment. Those experiments can be good or bad, as we have seen. But it's not all bad. It's not all bad. There will be many boffins around the world, many scientists coming up with new and innovative things. We see some of them are more frivolous, like I was discussing on the last Hogarth with plastic ice cream. Really? Do scientists want to use the energy of Rahu, Jupiter, and Uranus for plastic ice cream? Like, come on. We could be using that on the oceans, helping out Neptune over here. That's what I would like to see, dissolving the plastics in the oceans, etc. So, of course, timings were requested. So here on my software, I'm going to do here transits, and we're going to do animated transits. And I'm going to click backwards first, focus here on Jupiter. I'm going to click back in time to show you when Jupiter made that transition into sidereal Aries. And then I'm going to show you when Jupiter is going to transition out. Yeah. So let's click on monthly here. Now keep your eyeballs on Jupiter. Yeah, you're going to see the planets moving in different directions. Rahu's actually going to appear to actually move forward when he's actually moving backwards. But anyway, never mind. Let's do monthly. So let's click back in time. So you'll be seeing that degree of Jupiter keep coming down. And let's go forward weekly. Let's get the exact day. I'm with my Virgo energies. I love to actually really. Let's just see here. Oh no, wait. Daily. Let's see if I can get the day. The exact day. There we are. So here's Jupiter over here. So Jupiter went into sidereal Aries. That's it, on the 22nd of April 2023. So I made video, I think a video or two before that, which I think was maybe around about March. It might have been February of March of this year, where I said, right, get ready, folks, because when Jupiter moves in, we're going to see these things. Now with Jupiter, Jupiter spends approximately a year in each sign. So it takes him 12 years to go around the whole zodiac. That's how long it takes him to go around the sun. So let's do the monthly again and then just click forward. Or in fact, if I just do yearly, in fact, no, I'm going to do monthly, because then you can see I think he leaves and then comes back. So we're going to click forward again. So 1, 2, and then keep your eye on Jupiter. 3, 4, 5. So here, 5 months in, here we're on 19th of September. 6, that's the 19th of October. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, 12. He's staying there for a while, actually. Look, you see, he's still there. So he's staying a bit longer because it's approximate. Sometimes it's, let's just see here. There we are. So look. So here it is, 16th of April, which of course is next year. Jupiter is at 28 degrees, 38 minutes. But you see how quickly he went through. So let's do weekly, because it looks like it might be a year and... yeah, it looks like it might be a year and 3 weeks or something like that, a year and 2 weeks. Let's do daily, give you the... there we are. So Jupiter will move out of sidereal Aries on the 1st of May 2024. Now think of how significant that is. Think of what's going to be going on at that time, particularly with Duc Larange. Think of all of the political things, the primaries, all of the doodahs and this, that and the other. Here, when Jupiter's here, and particularly when Uranus moves into sidereal Aries, this is where we're going to see a lot of global stuff, particularly with money and financial systems, are really going to start manifesting. Remember, I've already given you guys a heads up on this, where I've already been talking about BRICS for ages, long before even anyone was even mentioning BRICS, as you know, because I do like to keep a beady eye on these things. What is Taurus? Taurus deals with tangible assets, money, assets classes of all kinds. This also has a lot to do with food, grain, harvest, all of that kind of thing. What we're going to see is from January and then through to the spring, we're going to be seeing big changes in the financial systems, new currencies coming on board. They're already there. They're already being discussed, as I've said already. But this is where we're going to start seeing concrete manifestations of those things, particularly when, if I go back to monthly, when Uranus joins Jupiter. Now that should be happening in June. In fact, look, we see here, let's do daily, because this is the 31st of May. I think it happens around, let's see when there we are. Look at that. There we are. So Uranus will move into sidereal Taurus on the 1st of June 2024. This is, and look at the stellium that's here as well. So Mercury is there, which is also a planet of finance. Jupiter also deals with the economy and finance. Venus is there, which was also a planet of finance. There you've got the Sun, which deals with leaders, and Uranus is innovation, tech, etc., and stuff like that. I will virtually guarantee that at that time, or even it could even happen when Jupiter actually moves over, like a few months ahead of Uranus, there will be some big announcement on global currencies, Bitcoin, new ways of paying for things, or banks coming forward with certain things, governments coming forward with certain things. It's all there. This could be when BRICS is really starting to maybe gather speed, etc. All of that stuff. But that's got a lot to do with finance, but not just finance, food as well. This is going to talk a lot about food. Jupiter and Venus are foodie planets. Just know that. So is the moon as well. So look, we're going to see lots of stuff with asset classes, economies around the world, trade deals in regards to foods and services and sustenance, education as well. This also speaks about, this could be really where the GOP go proper cray cray, trying to burn every book that they possibly can. Anyway, so there's that. Now let's talk about Pluto. Here's Pluto here. Now Pluto is a very slow moving planet. You've heard every astrologer pretty much being talking about the Pluto return for the United States. Why? Because it's a big deal. Why? Because it doesn't happen very often. How often does it happen? A true Pluto return happens like Pluto's orbit around the sun is between 244 to 248 years going around the sun. He has a slightly wobbly elliptical orbit, so it can vary a little bit with Pluto. Pluto, the shortest time Pluto can spend in the sign is 12 years when he's in Scorpio, pretty much over here, Libra, Scorpio. And this is where, in terms of his elliptical orbit, where he's closer to the sun. So you see where you got this digit here, which says number 1. Imagine that's the sun in the middle. When Pluto's in the signs of Libra and in Scorpio, he's much closer. But because he has an elliptical orbit, when he gets into the sign of, say, like Aries and Taurus, he spends much longer in a sign because he's much further away, moving much more slowly before he speeds up again. Do you see? It's like that, like a loop. So he can spend up to 30 years or so in a sign when he's up here. Now, none of us are alive. None of us were around for the Pluto in Taurus generation. If you were still alive, you are hundreds of years old. You're really, really old. I mean, there are some people who are very mature now. They've got their Pluto in the sign of Cancer, which means they really have been on Earth for a long time. But you really would have to be like, we're talking like, you'd have to be maybe like 130 or something like that to have Pluto here in this time. But let's click forward to see. Now, look, this is talking about 2024, which of course is next year. And you see Pluto is still very much ensconced in sidereal Capricorn at 7 degrees 42 minutes. He's already made his return at this point in the USA chart, which of course is around about 6 degrees and 42 minutes or something like that, and loose change. But you could call it 7 degrees. So this really is bang on for that, the full intensity of that return. Now, how long is he staying there? Now, what you've got to remember is he's spending longer as he gets further away from the sun. He's spending longer in the signs. Yeah. Now, many of you who follow Western tropical astrologers, of course, at this point, Western tropical astrologers will be saying, because you have to add 24 degrees to every planet, they'll be saying that Pluto is in sidereal Aquarius at this time, and you know, humanity is going to be liberated, kumbaya, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas, of course, I'm a Neo-Vedic astrologer, and I go by what the actual placements are. The physical body of the planet really does matter, and this is as according to NASA. You can literally go on NASA or any kind of current software, and you can actually look up where the planet actually is, and it will correspond with this. Like I said before, Western astrology does work because the distance between the planets in terms of degrees, how far apart they are, is the same. It's just that they'll be in different signs and different houses, which of course affects everything. So really and truly, what is it that we're seeing this tumultuous action in? We're seeing it in regards to what? Governments. Yeah. The sign of Capricorn deals with government, top-down structures, power systems, hierarchies. It deals with corporations, big corporations. It also deals with big pharma, big companies, distribution systems, infrastructure. It's a big deal. Capricorn I refer to as a sign of pressure. So let's go back in time first, and then I'm going to take you forward in time to illustrate how this stuff works so succinctly. So I'm going to do yearly. I'm going to click back to the point where Pluto was still in, here we are, and was still in sidereal Sagittarius, yeah, when he was passing with Ketu. God, such wickedness happened in the world. Let's do weekly on this one to see. Oh, there we are. Oh my God, you see how slow Pluto is? Gee whiz. I mean, I know when he went in. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do monthly because I know when he went in. Aha! So when we look here, so let's just see it. What am I getting this thing here? So if we look, actually, let's do, what happened there? That's saying 2020. Let's do monthly. 1 minute. Ah, yes. So look, you can see here, according to my software, where Pluto went into sidereal Capricorn. Here it's saying 2020, but then I think he retrograded. He dipped in, retrograded out, and then when he went back in again, I think that's when we had Jan 6. So let's just see what happens when I do the monthly. Yeah, then he retrograded out. So then he retrograded back out. Do you see? So he dipped in a little bit, and then he started going direct again. And then look what happens when we get to late 2020. So of course this would all have been the election time, etc., all of that kind of stuff. Let's do weekly here, and let's do that, and you will see a very poignant and specific date show up. Here we are. So if we look here, actually technically it happened on the 31st, between the 31st or whatever. I think I may have said January 1st at the time, but sometimes the software does wobble a little bit. But yeah, so basically if we look here, Pluto entered sidereal Capricorn either on or between the 31st of December 2021 or the 1st of January 2021. What happened soon after that ingress into sidereal Capricorn, which remember deals with what? Government. At that time as well, I also said as well that Pluto was passing through the tail of the flying gripe. And a gripe is considered like a type of eagle. But what does the tail end of a bird do? Yeah. I would have explained this years ago now, because this would have been back in 2020. Many of you will be new. Of course, you know what happens. And I said, something is going to happen with a seat of government, something to do with the capital. I said something poopy could happen. Those of you who've been with my channel for a long time will remember me saying that. And we all know what happened. We had January 6th, and what did they do? Yeah, they smeared, you know what, on the walls. Planets are declamatory. So when they change signs, they kind of like announce themselves. It's a bit like, they're like actors. It's a bit like a soap opera. They will come in and be like, I'm back, or I'm here. So when Pluto moved into sidereal Capricorn, basically 5-6 days later, we had January 6th. And this was the beginning of what? The churning of all of the stuff, scandals to do with what? Government. We're seeing what? Corruption around the world, things moving to the far right, etc. All of this stuff. When Pluto was in Sagittarius, Sagittarius deals with what? Spirituality, faith, religion. What were we talking about then? It was all about what? Jihad, beheadings, and stuff going on with the Catholic Church. Yeah? You'll see how it all plays out. Now we're dealing with this. So now your question is going to be, as Manuela was asking, how long will this last? So everyone's like, okay, how long will this last? What I want to say is, because this is the Pluto return of the United States, the most intense part is when the planet has come back to itself and crossing over itself, which is going to last for a few years. But Pluto is going to be in the sign of sidereal Capricorn for a while. I've held back on sharing this with you guys for years, but now that things are here and plainly evident for everyone to see, it's better just to have the reality and be prepared. comfort is all good, but sometimes comfort can, well, too much comfort can become a crutch. Yeah. And this isn't the time for crutches. Yeah. It's too intense. It's too deep. This is the time for fortitude, strength, courage. Yeah. Because we're all being tested. Everyone on planet Earth is being tested, particularly the leaders. Are they going to try and do the right thing, or are they going to go to the shadow of Pluto? So let's do yearly. And let's click forward from this point, because of course, January 1st, 2021 is a great date to start from. All right, so let's click forward. 1, 2, 3. Keep your eyes on Pluto. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oof. 19 years. And let's see when it flips over. Yeah, it's 19 years and loose change. 19 years and 1 month, folks, pretty much. Let's do the weekly on that to see. Let me see if I can give you the actual day he goes in. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the day. If I do, oh, look, there we are. That's the 0 point. There we are. Okay. So technically, Pluto's body will enter into sidereal Aquarius, which will really begin the real next level of the age of Aquarius, which a lot of Western astrologers are talking about. But at this point, you can imagine AI and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it could be Terminator by that point. I mean, it really could. But anyway, but let's hope for the best. But if we look here, so we see Pluto goes into sidereal Aquarius on the 16th of January, 2040. Yeah. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, but it's the reality. Yeah, it's the reality. By this point, of course, in Western astrology, they'll be having Pluto around about 24 degrees of Aquarius. But that's when his body actually moves in. So at least that gives you an idea there. Let's now open. Let's see here. What's going on? Why am I getting this hourglass thing? Oh, this is so annoying. Come on, don't mess about. Gish. Come on. All right. So if we look here, let's do this is global astrology. Let's go to open. Let's get the USA chart. USA Declaration of Independence. Let's just open that to explain the energies there. So here we are. This is the USA Declaration of Independence chart, where you can see, there we are. There is Pluto at 6 degrees 48 minutes. Relatively, well, close-ish, sort of like within 10 degrees of K2, which is it's a very difficult combination anyway. Remember I talked about bondage, slavery, and all indebtedness and all of this kind of stuff. Pluto used to be the original god of wealth. Why? Because he deals with what? The underworld, things that are underground. What comes out from underground? Fuel, coal, oil, minerals, gemstones. Yeah. So he was the original. Back, remember in the Roman days, tin was a huge. I mean, tin is still very important now, but they needed that for making bronze and all of this kind of stuff. So he deals with that, but he can also deal with huge debts as well. What does America have? America has one of the biggest trade deficits that's ever existed in all of history. At the moment, so hovering around about 32 trillion. Now, in the Thursday fry-up, I'm going to discuss that Greek economist that I mentioned. His name has left my head, but he's talking about how America has actually been able to harness that trade deficit for for its purposes, and it's fascinating. One of the best, most succinct insights to describe what is going on right now. But anyway, here we are. So this is, we can see here Pluto in the main chart. Now, if we look here where it says TR, that means transits. This is where the planets are right now. So right now in relation to this chart of the United States. So if we look here, Pluto is at 3 degrees 42 minutes. So you can see very much back with himself within an orb of 3 degrees. Very strong. So we've been seeing what? Everything since Jan 6th. It's just been one tumult after another, hasn't it? So here, now, when will the intensity of that decrease? You're going to need Pluto to reach an orb wider than 3 degrees for that to begin to diminish. So this is going to be when, if we look here, you can pretty much say that America's Pluto is almost at 7 degrees. So once Pluto, transiting Pluto reaches 10, 11, 12 degrees, then part of that intensity will begin to diminish a bit. And then as he continues to progress through the sign, this is where more of the resolutions of those things start to happen. We're very much in the kind of the breakdown, the composting phase. You would have heard me mention that before. Composting. What Pluto does is he breaks things down, and in order to reconfigure them and make something new. That's why the imagery of Pluto is also the phoenix rising from the ashes. But the old has to die in order for the new to come out first. This is why you're seeing so consistently things around the world where it feels like everything is dying, everything is falling apart, everything is breaking down. Think about it. Just look at the news, look at one's life, look at one's country. Is this really the age of Aquarius for Pluto? I don't think so. Yeah, look where it's happening. It's happening in governments. Look at the, the fascism, even the racism, the all of the, the misogyny, all of the stuff, all of the id. Pluto represents the id of the collective unconscious. There is a positive side to Pluto, which is that mea culpa, that alchemy, that magic, that transformation. But the id must be faced. That's why you saw on a couple of Hogarths, I put those clips to Supergirl. Do you remember I was saying, watch those clips that I've got for Supergirl? I might actually add them in this one. And there's a bit where, I mean, this is a completely camp and completely over the top film, and it got absolutely panned. But let me tell you, there are certain concepts in that film that are very, very pertinent and poignant for today. Selena, the witch, or the sorceress, who is played by Faye Dunaway brilliantly, is basically about to vanquish, Supergirl and what have you. She's managed to come out of the phantom zone, and she does this spinning thing. Well, there's a bit where one guy calls from the side and he says, make her face it. Make her face her shadow. So Supergirl spins and spins and spins around Faye Dunaway's character, Selena, and she's lifted up in the air, and she's turned to face this huge monster that's there. And she's like, ah, and all of this kind of stuff, and her sidekick is swept in, etc. And then they go through the looking glass, and then basically the looking glass reconfigures, and Supergirl is standing there whole and intact. So this is about, not only is this having effects on governments all around the world, because Capricorn, of course, is the sign of government, as I have said, but this is particularly pertinent to the United States because you guys are going through this return, which only happens once every 248 years or so, and loose change. As we know, America is what? On that cusp of being 250 years old. It's all coming together. It's like, a lot of people are like, well, when will this end? Well, I've showed you when it will pass through, but this is very much like childbirth. Ask any woman who's given birth to a child, and it's not like the doctor, it's not like she says, you know what, I don't really fancy giving birth right now. Can I just do this next week? Can the baby just stay inside me until then, until I've managed to do this and do that? No, once the childbirth happens, once the birthing process begins, it begins. And it's that going through the process. Sometimes that birth is tumultuous, full of trials and tribulations and danger. As we all know, that's often one of the most risky and vulnerable times in a woman's life, is when she's giving birth. When anything's giving birth, any animal, I mean, at least with deer and whatever, it's often very quick, and the baby has to get up and whatever. But as we understand, human childbirth is fraught with potential risks and dangers. We all know what used to happen to so many women before the advent of modern medicines and stuff like that. And even actually, ironically, in America actually, for a developed country, has very challenging outcomes for women. A lot of women still die in childbirth in America. You don't hear it on the news, but it's true. So this is the birthing process of America, where it's about facing that shadow, digesting it down, integrating it, mea culpa. Look at what the GOP are doing. What? Trying to get everyone to forget. They're trying to what? Whitewash the past. Oh, slaves, they came out with life skills. Yeah. If you managed to survive. Yeah. I mean, what a pile of BS. Yeah. So it's like, oh, some became carpenters and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, oh, great. So that justifies everything, all the rape and the pillage and the exploitation and all that kind of stuff. That exploitation is still going on now. But now it doesn't matter what color you are. Yeah. Doesn't matter what color you are with these corporate entities and all of this kind of stuff. So what is incumbent upon us as a collective to do the alchemy, to do the shadow work. But everything has to come up to the surface. People are realizing now, oh, these companies, again, Capricorn, maybe they're getting a little bit too much power. How are they going to use the AI? Because if we look here, here's Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius, which is what he rules. Jupiter also deals with technology, by the way. He deals with AI, machines. He's the original innovator, because he rules the sign of Aquarius, which is co-ruled by Rahu and Uranus. So Aquarius, sidereal Aquarius, has 3 rulers, but he's the original one. He's what? The original god of harvest. Most of the innovation throughout human history in regards to tech has been what? In regards to harvesting. The wheel, the wagon, etc. The other big advances in tech have come from Mars, planet of war. So the malefics often have a lot to do with innovation, but via struggle. Here at the moment, this is why everything is so intense at the moment for Americans in particular, and for the whole world. But if we look here, here's Saturn at 6 degrees 52 minutes. Pretty much exactly, look, on top of the moon of America, which sits at 7 degrees 14 minutes. This is referred to as Sadi Sati, which can also mean 7 years of trials. Now, I don't want you to spook yourselves out too much, but mind the way, we are seeing what's unfolding. Sadi Sati begins when Saturn is 1 sign from the moon. It's most intense when it's with and on the moon, and then 1 sign after. So we can see once Saturn has actually passed through sidereal Aquarius, that Sadi Sati will still be there, but it's not going to be quite as intense. Saturn is going to move into sidereal Pisces in around about spring 2025. So you would have heard many astrologers, even some of the readers, say, it might be a bit choppy for a few years. Breathe, pray. Think of alchemy. Actually tune in with that energy of Pluto and urge the alchemy, the magical side to come out, because Pluto is an incredible planet. Let me tell you, when one can integrate the energies of Pluto, one becomes a magi. It's pretty much as simple as that. That's the plainest language that I can use. So throughout all of this composting, all of the ish and the ugliness and the id that we see here, there are also opportunities for America to transform into something extraordinary. But it has to deal with all of the greed, all of the greed, the corruption, And of course, this isn't just about America. We know this is happening, what, in governments all over the world. Look at my douchebag government and all that stuff that they're doing and the machinations. But for you guys in the States, it's even more intense because it's actually happening to you. And this is the first one. It's like trying to give birth to your first child. You don't really know what to expect and how your body's, going to behave. We know when by the time mothers have had their, third, fourth child, I heard there was one mother who had 9 kids. So labor was coming on. She kept on hoovering, drank her water, did this, that, and the other, got herself ready. She was called the ambulance, like, oh, the ambulance is going to take too long. She's like, well, you know what? So she went up, into the bath, got herself ready, gave one push. The baby was born, placenta came out, cut the cord, this, that, and the other. By the time she'd done that, the ambulance had arrived and she was done. Yeah, she was done because she's had the experience so many times. Just to put in perspective, the UK has had at least 4 Pluto returns since Westminster Abbey was built in the 10th century. Yeah, because imagine it's around about 250 years, 25 is 50, and then put those two together, you get 100, you get about 1,000 years. Yeah. So the UK, for example, has had at least 4 Pluto returns since Westminster Abbey was built. And same with Tower of London. China, for example, has over 5,000 years of continuous history. Think of how many Pluto returns they've had. Yeah, so it's not to belittle, these things, but it's just to help you guys understand why everything is so intense. This is your first one. And this is where a lot of the craziness really, this is where maturity has to come. For me, Pluto returns are very much like the Saturn return on the individual level, which starts at 29 for most people. And as you know, I may have said it to my clients, but maybe not publicly, on my meditations with the planets, Saturn replied with, childhood ends when I return. So that means we have an ending of naivety and childhood every Saturn return, pretty much. The first one is 29. The next one comes in the late 50s or 60. And then the one after that, which is basically back end of the 80s, early 90s, we're like, take me now. I'm ready to go. Yeah. So just understand this is a birthing process. This is an alchemical process. It doesn't mean like it's going to feel like hell on earth for, 18 years. No, but it's going to be that time until Pluto has crossed over itself. So let's look at the animated, well, I've already said it's around about 2025 and that things start to go on from there. So I hope that explains that aspect there. Let me see, how am I doing on time? Oh, look at that. You see, I always go for an hour in the end, don't I? Let me just quickly do, let's quickly do Duck Larange and Biden. So let's quickly do Biden. There we go. Let's do open here. Let's do politics. Oh, I'm hungry as well. I need to cook my last meal of the evening. Where is, let's put Joe. Let's look at Joe Biden. There we are. Joe Biden, USA president. So this is, I've already covered this, but this is to cover it again. So look, it's going to be slightly choppy waters, yeah, choppy waters for Biden. And of course, America may well get sucked into everything that's going on in Israel, which has just happened, which is also what, coinciding with the eclipses, which you heard me speak about, where big things happen around eclipses. The first solar eclipse happens on the 14th of October, 2023, and then the following lunar eclipse happens around about, I think it's the 28th of October 2023. The solar eclipse is going to be very challenging for Trump, Duck Larange, because it's going to be happening close to his Jupiter. The lunar eclipse, I feel, is the one that's going to be most challenging for Biden, because it's going to actually be falling on his moon. We've already seen certain things, but let me explain myself. Here, let's look at TR again, which means transits. As you can see, this is where the planets are right now, sidereally, according to NASA. You will see here, now this is particularly challenging for Biden, because Saturn is sitting on top of his K2. Now, you remember I said K2 is what? Snip, snip. It tends to have a removing kind of aspect, element. But so does Saturn. They're both separating forces. So when you get the two of them together on top of each other, there's going to be some kind of separation, distance, ending, or something like that. Also, as well, Saturn also deals with foreign lands along with Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter is a planet of long distances, but literally Saturn can deal with foreign lands. It can also deal with refugees. This might also have something to do with the border as well when I think about it. Here you see this is all happening in Biden's fourth house, and certain astrologers, or especially the Vedic astrologers, and as we know, there's a famous astrologer, Texan astrologer, who uses this technique, and it's very, very accurate, and it really is a good one, irrespective of what people think of the politics. That's not what I'm all about. I look at, reality, facts, what actually works, because this is a science that we're talking about. It's an ancient one, but it's a science. So you can look at the chart of the nation, but you can also look at the chart of the leader. So here, whatever's happening in Biden's fourth house will also talk about the homeland. Yeah. So look, Saturn is on top of his K2 in the homeland. And if you remember correctly, in America's chart, where does the moon sit? It sits at 7 degrees. So we have three factors working together. America's moon, Biden's K2, and transiting Saturn on the top. Yeah, big deal in what? The homeland. Here it's also with Ceres. Now, Ceres is very interesting. Not talked about enough in Western astrology, quite fluffy associations with Ceres and stuff, because it deals with, devotion, a mother's love, etc. But for my clients, the way I describe it, Ceres actually represents three energies. Demeter, the original Greek goddess of harvest and grain. Persephone, her daughter, who was abducted by who? Hades, Pluto, god of the underworld. What I've found is Ceres deals with something that we've gained and we fear losing, or something that we've lost and we're trying to get back. So this is going to be to do with gaining things, or maybe losing things, or having a position then losing it, or trying to regain a position, something to do with the homeland. I think this is also might have things to do with the border as well. But this is also talking about food as well, food security as well, resources. Ceres can also be associated with. So this can also mention things as well, likely to do with the economy as well, particularly Aquarius as well, deals with distribution systems of all kinds, deals with the proletariat, ordinary people, also deals with the economy. I call Aquarius the Amazon online of the zodiac. While Saturn is here, he will be aspecting Biden's moon, which you see is also at 7 degrees, but this time of Aries. Saturn looks 3 places, 7 places, and 10 places from himself. So if we look here, count from here, 1, 2, 3, Saturn, transiting Saturn will be aspecting Biden's moon. The moon is what? The mind, the emotions, the family. Look, all the tumult he's going through where they're trying to get the sun. Yeah, they're trying to get what? Hunter. But there could be more things as well. This is also happening here in the 6th house here. And the 6th house deals with what? Health and healing and overcoming obstacles. The moon is the mind. So there might be something going on with the thinking process, or the emotions, or the mind, or things to do with the head area. Because if we look here, Aries is also deals with the top of the head. Yes, the first sign, part of the birthing process, we come out head first. So there's things here to do. He's got what? A lot on his mind. There's a lot of pressure on the mind. We now have the conflict that has come out. You'll see here, Rahu is over here at the Gandanta point. And when the lunar eclipse happens, it's going to be falling with Biden's moon. Kamala Harris also has her moon in Aries as well, very close to Biden. So there's going to be something going on. Is it a case of maybe he gets a bit of burnout or something, and then he has to kind of chill out for a bit? Does Kamala take over for a little while? Or is it more to do with things domestically? He's still in charge, but maybe there's some kind of event. I mean, we're already seeing with Israel that already is going to be it's already significantly consequential. So do you see, Saturn is already doing that, giving his full aspect there. Saturn by transit will also be aspecting here's Rahu, which is the manifest point of destiny. And you see, look, Rahu is at 7 degrees and 5 minutes. The nodes of the moon are always at the same sign. So we see here how 7 degrees is already a very critical degrees in Biden's chart. Here it's with Chiron, which is what? The wounded healer. This is happening in the 10th house, which deals with what? Name, fame, career. Also deals with presidents. So Saturn is aspecting that as well. Yeah, so what possible change, what in career, or maybe his attitude to the presidency or something like that? Could there be something connected with health? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. And then Saturn via his fourth aspect, which is the backward square. So you can count backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, or count round 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that. So Saturn is also looking at what? Biden's first house, which deals with what? The body, the identity, how we come across. It's also looking here at Venus, which deals with the wife in a woman's chart, in a man's chart, sorry. Or a woman, if that's your thing. But basically it deals with the spouse, the partner. So there could be more news in regards to Jill. I'm assuming she's recovered from COVID now, yeah? There could be an aspect there, or even daughters as well. That can also speak about that as well. Venus is also daughters, any females from girlhood up to maturity. But Saturn will also be aspecting the sun, which again deals with the health and the vitality in the chart. So for me, the main thing is that Biden needs to look after his health. He needs to not overdo it. He needs to make sure he's getting rest, sleep, these kind of things as well. With the transits here, you see Mars in K2 here, which is a very bombastic, violent combination, and it can deal with terrorism and stuff like that, like what we've seen happen in Israel. But look here, transiting Mars will soon be crossing over natal Mars and Mercury. If we also see here, Uranus is at 28 degrees 12 minutes, and so is Biden's Mercury. Again, this is, other Vedic astrologers have pointed this out, and this is very significant. So there is this opposition here, and here Uranus can deal with what? Sudden shocks and surprises, the unexpected. Can deal with earthquakes, physical earthquakes, but it can also deal with political earthquakes, shocks, surprises. So when I see that, when we see here that Rahu, Jupiter, and Uranus are all in Biden's 6th house of health and healing and overcoming obstacles, but also enemies, war, conflict, it's not looking so great, is it? However, he has managed to handle things so far. He's very resourceful. Remember, like I said, never underestimate a Scorpio. Yeah, he's thrice Scorpio ascendant, Venus, and Sun. So let's just keep our eyes peeled. Let's not panic too much, but at least I've explained the energies to you should something funky happen. Now let's take a quick look at Duck L'Orange. Let's look at Duck L'Orange, aka Trump. Let's do open. Politics, Donald Trump. All right, so here's Donald Trump's chart. As we can see, the classic one, Mars in the first house tightly conjunct the ascendant and the star Regulus. Yeah, that just says it all. Already explained that ad nauseum. Now, for Duck L'Orange, Saturn is transiting the 7th house. And this is very, very pertinent because the 7th house deals with marriage. Yeah, it can literally deal with marriage, the spouse, marriage partners, business partners. What many people overlook, the 7th house is also business, trade, goods, services, imports and exports. Also deals with foreign lands as well. But the 7th house also deals with litigation. It deals with courthouses, quite literally lawyers and lawmakers and judges, because the original seventh sign, of course, is what? Libra, which deals with all of those things, business, justice, etc. So he's got Saturn, planet of karma and accountability, transiting his seventh house, which started when? 17th of January 2023. That's why I made that prediction, and I said accountability is coming even for Duck Larange, and you'll see it progressing. What has happened? And I said when we reach October, I said that's when the wheels will start coming off, and from the 22nd of October onwards, you know, even more so. But we've seen that already. So Saturn is doing his thing there, bringing that karma to Duck Larange. If we look here, he's also looking via his third aspect at Trump's ninth house. The ninth house deals with what? Faith, religion, spirituality, yes, in that positive sense, but it also deals with the law and lawmakers as well. Also deals with foreign lands, travel. Look what's been coming out about his what? His foreign dealings, what he's shared with foreign leaders and stuff like that. From here, Saturn's position in the seventh house, it will aspect the first house. So literally, Trump is feeling what? The pressure on him, karma. And because look, Saturn is at 6 degrees and 52 minutes. Look at Trump's ascendant, which is at 6 degrees 51 minutes. That is an exact, it's what I call a perfection. Saturn is looking exactly at Trump's ascendant, putting him what? Under the cosh. He's got every single kind of feasible legal thing going on, this, that, and the other. He's got legalities coming out of his ears. I think it's really that prophecy that I made has come true. And you remember I said he will be the most litigated man in all of history. And it's already there. Saturn is bringing down the, you know, the hammer, quite literally. So there's that. But there's more. Let's not forget the fourth aspect. So we've had the third one, we've got the opposition here, but the fourth aspect of Saturn looks right at what? Trump's moon and his K2. K2 can deal with losses, but it's losses that spiritualize. So for spiritual people that are not holding on too much to materialism, and they're trying, you know, and they're doing good for others and all of this kind of stuff, their bit for humanity, K2 can be the flag that rises on the conquered ground. Yeah, K2, even believe it or not, can bring a sudden rise in life. However, if one has been on the shady side, not been doing good stuff, snip snip comes along, and well, in Trump's case, it's not a snip snip. This could be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for him. We've already seen what the judge, ninth house judges, has found him what? Culpable and guilty, the Trump organization. Now it's going to be about what? The reparations. How much money? How much will snip snip take? How much money will K2 take? Because here it is with the moon, which for all Leo ascendants is the 12th house lord. The 12th house deals with faraway lands, foreign lands, which we've seen all of his foreign dealings with different governments. Saturn is here, governments, Venus, the wife. So this is also Melania probably getting her divorce papers ready, dusting off the Louis Vuittons, making sure all of her shoes are packed and deciding which school Baron's going to go to, all of that stuff. Pluto is what? The dodgy dealings, but also the great debts and the exceeding wealth. He has had a tremendous amount of wealth in his life, but we understand that it's come from secret places, also deals with secret enemies. This is also Ivanka's huge money that she got from what? Foreign governments. Saturn, the Saudi, 2 billion. Do you see how all this plays out? But K2 is with the 12th Lord, so that's going to increase, potentially exaggerate the losses that Trump may potentially face. Now, look, I mean, he'll still be able to buy McDonald's by the end of this, yeah? He'll still be able to buy McDonald's, but it could be severely restricted. We'll have to see what K2 does, but so far it's looking like K2 is going in for the chop. The eclipse is happening around about 26, 27 degrees of sidereal Virgo, the solar one, which means the eclipse is going to fall right on Trump's Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of wealth and abundance, like Venus, expansiveness, all of this kind of stuff happening in the second house, which deals with wealth, money, assets, tangible assets of all kinds. Now, I'm sure they've squirreled the money away. Second house is also a marker house, by the way, which can be a death inflicting house. So having an eclipse fall there, you know, maybe not the best, but I think it's much more to do with finances here. Neptune will be activated. Neptune can create a fortune or dissolve a fortune as well. Here you've got Jupiter with Neptune. Is it any wonder? Look here with Chiron, which deals with what? The wounded healer. Can be mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, or physical injuries. The second house also deals with family. We know he's had a tremendous amount of wounding in his family, particularly with the father. Jupiter represents secondary characteristics of the father. Chiron is there. Neptune also deals with illusions, delusions, gaslighting, shady scandals, all of that kind of stuff. We know Fred Trump, you know, bit of a sketchy guy. It also shows that Trump had a lot of wounding from his father, not to excuse his behavior, but we know he's a deeply wounded person. That's also part of those that are wounded. In particular, that's part of the appeal that Trump has, which is something that I've been trying to say for years. There are reasons why they cling to him, they cleave to him so, yeah? Because there's a deep identification there with the wounding, with the grievance and all of that stuff. But here, this could literally deal with what? Wounds in regards to loss of money, because Ketu is part of this eclipse. It's going to be there with his Jupiter. And as we know, Trump is not really the most spiritual kind of guy. He can't hold the Bible the right way up. So, of course, this is going to be a spiritualizing influence that Ketu will have here. But it might be in the form of what? Losses. Yeah, losses. But if you guys are having similar kind of things, if you're spiritual, then this could be a sudden rise, believe it or not. Could actually be a sudden rise, but it'd be unexpected. If he were a spiritual person, I would say this would be the time for him to go on pilgrimage, particularly pilgrimage by oversea, Neptune, god of the sea. That would be my advice to Duck Larange. I'd be like, let it go. Yeah, Neptune is about let it go, you know, that stuff. Literally, he can dissolve these things. So it could be a fortune here, could be dissolved. Now, I'm sure Ivanka has, you know, squirreled away some of that 2 billion for daddy and the brothers and all that kind of stuff, even though on one level she has to throw them under the bus. I'm sure there might be a soft landing there somewhere, but we'll have to see. So this is also a tricky time for, as we've seen, for Duck Larange as well. So he's having all of this activation and stuff like that go on. He's been protected, like I said, by Mercury here, which represents what? Friends in the 11th house, which deals with friends, great gains, etc. All of this kind of stuff. Communications of all kinds. His Mercury is in Ardra. Ardra is ruled by the storm god Rudra, so it deals with storms. Look at his tumultuous tornado-like conversation, which has whipped the country and the world into a frenzy. When he was taken off Twitter, what did he do? He started his what? Truth Social. This is why he can't shut up to save his life. Yeah, anyone who's got Mercury or the moon in Gemini, they're natural talkers, you know. Guilty as charged. My moon is in Gemini. We all know how much I can bloody talk. Well, at least I can shut up a little bit. But here, he literally can't shut up for his own good. Unless he's been absolutely gag ordered, you know, and even then he's still chomping at the bit. But this influence is ending, yeah? His Jupiter Mercury, which is a powerful money generator for Duck Larange, because Mercury rules the 11th house of great gains and the second house of money and finances and assets for all Leo ascendants. Jupiter is a planet of money, which is situated in his second house. So here, Mercury has been driving the Jupiter car. Is it any wonder he's still been able to what? Raise cash, money, finances. What does he do? He goes, they're attacking me. Help, help, give me money. What does he do? He uses what? His Mercury, which is also what? Emails, communications of all kinds. 11th house is groups and organizations, society. He does an email campaign and he raises the funds. But this is coming to an end. He's going to go into Jupiter Ketu, which is a very spiritualizing force. Jupiter is still in the second house, but look, Ketu is here hovering, yeah, like Jaws. Yeah, there with a chainsaw ready to chop up, you know, or spiritualize this Jupiter. But we normally spiritualize via what? Endings, loss. So, you know, we'll have to see. I mean, I've already talked ad nauseum about this, that, and the other, but that is showing the energies there. So Duck Larange himself is also in a bit of a pickle. So we'll have to see what happens with both. We'll have to see. But in regards to Biden and stuff, get your rest. You need rest. You need to, it's a tricky time. It's a tricky time for both Biden and Trump, which is the obvious one, which of course so many of us readers and all that kind of stuff are talking about. I will have to leave it there. Look, I've gone way over. Sorry, guys, but I hope you found that interesting. But that was a lot of ground to cover to really put into perspective the energies of the times. If you would like a consultation with me, then of course you can visit my website. You go to hogarthglobalastrology.com. It will say the archetypalblueprint.com, but it's still me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I forgot to say that in the beginning. Share and click the bell notification. And thank you so much, everyone, for the support. I'm filming this on Monday. You're going to have this Tuesday come out. And then after that, it will be Thursday fry up. And then, of course, Hercules. So I will leave it there. Much love, everyone. I know it's a bit deep and a bit intense, but such are the times. So I wish everyone the best, and to appeal to those higher energies, that alchemy, that transformation, turning the lead into gold. All right, bye-bye for now.